Hey guys, oh, there's no camera there. Jesus.
You want to try that again, David?
Yeah, I look at the lens and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey guys, welcome back to the Outriders podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works, where each week we take something from pop culture and try to break it down to better understand it. My name is David.
Hello, my name is Ben.
Yo, what's poppin'? My name's Zach.
Do you have a mouthful?
God damn it, Adam.
Every
I thought I
single
had
time we
time.
have you on the show, you
I
ruin
thought
the
I had
intro.
time.
Every single
Thought
time.
you had time.
It's quick. I do it quickly. God damn it, Adam.
You have time now.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What kind of professional are you?
Adam,
Jesus.
what the?
Not one.
Get it together.
You have one job, and that's sit down and shut up.
And you can't do that at all.
My God.
Now, this month we've been talking about things that build tension, that have tension, and use tension very well. So we thought, what better way to kind of wrap off the end of the month than with a sci-fi horror, something fresh, something interesting.
Spooky stories.
Something with some spooky, spicy stuff going on. Because this week we are talking about the tension of Nightflyers. Now, Adam put me onto this, and then I consequently made Ben watch it for the show.
You made me watch it. I wasn't going to watch this.
How
on
many
my
did
own
you get
volition.
through? Like,
I got through all of it.
you watched all
You-
of it?
fuck
I got
yeah,
through
dude.
every single episode.
That was a fair question because you
That
cunts for the
was
last
a fair
4 weeks have not done shit I've asked you to. And be like, well, I didn't rewatch it. It's like, fuck you.
Well, yeah, but that's
I-
it. That's Infinity War. Why
that's
would
understandable.
that doesn't count?
I powered through like all 10 episodes across like 4 days. So
Jeez, dude.
Okay.
I am juiced and squishy filled with Nightflyers.
So I wanted to ask you guys this because what did you know going into the show about it?
Fuck all.
That's
I knew
okay.
that-
Then I'll.
I knew that it was
You
made
go,
by
Adam.
George R. R. Martin, or well, that it was written.
I knew that, yeah.
I knew that it
He
was
was
written
a
by him,
novella.
and I knew that all of the artwork surrounding it and the name was the cringiest,
The worst, yeah.
cringiest shit. And it's like I went into it.
Call the show anything else.
I went into myself. I can't get the words. I went into it thinking, "Oh, good Christ! I hope I don't like this," because then I'll have to recommend people a program called Nightflyers.
Yeah, it
I
I
does
apologize
sound like
to people
a
when I tell them the
like
name.
a bad sort of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer ripoff, kind of like
Yeah.
teen drama,
Right.
Oh my
like
God, yeah.
show about witches who ride brooms through the night.
I'd watch the shit. That's just Sabrina
It
on
is.
Netflix, which is not good.
It's not good.
So, I mean, obviously, it's a 2018 science fiction horror Netflix series based on the novella and short stories of the same name by George R. R. Martin. And this was it was executive produced by Martin and Daniel Cerrone. Daniel Cerrone's done not a lot of note in his career, and Martin's done a lot of writing, most of it not amazing, aside from Game of Thrones and some of his kind of other sci-fi work. Martin's an interesting character in the kind of literary space where Game of Thrones is so good that a lot of his other stuff is forgiven for being very formulaic.
It's like, yeah, it's fine. You make Game of Thrones.
But there's always, everything he does, there's always a brother and a sister fucking. This show is no exception. But I don't know how that happens. So let's start with, before we get into the summary, we'll do a yes, no order. So Ben,
What?
you know the least about it, so you
yes.
tell me your thoughts first.
It's okay.
Yep.
It was fine. I thought some of it was good. I thought the pacing died at about episode 6.
It's pretty yikes, huh?
And
Yep.
the ending was just like, hey, remember 2001?
Guys, we didn't write we didn't
Yeah,
write a
and
last
that
episode,
was-
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's and like I thought the only cool thing I thought about the show was how the opening scene as like the sort of in medias res was sort of like a bait and switch. It's like the only thing I thought was quite interesting was like, oh, you know that everyone's gonna die, but like, oh, spoiler alert,
I kinda-
everyone doesn't die, but then it's just like,
Yeah, that was the thing. Okay, we'll get into. That was the thing I disliked the most. Is I thought that cold
Oh.
opening ruined the only bit of narrative tension left to that. It doesn't matter. We'll get into it. Adam, what did you think coming in?
I thought that, excuse me, I thought that the whole 2001-esque thing that they did that Ben just mentioned was like, it looked really cool. It definitely looked really cool. I thought it looked all right. I thought it looked all right.
sure,
And
no, fine. You can have your own opinion. It's all right, Adam. You're allowed opinions on this show.
Except
Nah.
you can't think the reality expectation scene is bad because it's not. That's the only thing that I draw a hard line.
Right,
on.
okay.
yeah,
go
is
ahead,
that- is that the one thing?
Yeah,
Um,
that's my
yeah.
line. Yeah.
I thought that the whole 2001 thing was pretty solid looking. The only problem is that came right at the end of the show. if that was like episode 7 out of 10, and then there was like a resolve to that, because they didn't know if they were going to get a second season or not at that point. Mm-hmm. And it's like when you pretty much use the majority of your last episode to set up a new story, and then
you're doing something wrong. Not renewed.
No second season. It kind of just leaves you with a pretty good set of like the first 5 or 6 episodes, and then a ridiculous amount of dumb fucking twists, and then a setup that will never ever get resolved.
Yep.
So they're not getting a second season.
They're not.
We'll talk about that a bit later, but
what a fucking waste.
I'm sorry, spoilers.
I'll get into some of that. Okay, so the summary quickly. It's pretty brief because a lot happens, so I kept it more top level. In 2093, a team of scientists embark on a journey in space aboard a ship, the Nightflyer, to make first contact with alien life forms. Along the way, violent and terrible events begin to occur, and the closer the ship grows to the aliens, the more bizarre and more frequent the occurrences. The crew starts to suspect something aboard the ship is trying to target them, and as the show goes on, we learn that the key players are all hiding secrets from each other. It's ultimately up to Carl, Captain Eris, Melantha, Rowan, Tail, and Lomi to not just save the crew, but save themselves. Ultimately, Carl's ambition and Agatha's secrets tear the ship to pieces, and we end the season on a cliffhanger with Carl going into the heart of the aliens.
Man, that was super high level.
The reason it's high level is that normally
ridiculous.
Normally, the reason that I do the summary is to kind of pick through the plot of the story to recap it for people that haven't seen it.
Sure.
But with this one,
plot?
Well, I looked at the story and I went, the through line is exactly what I just read out.
Yes.
The devil's in the details, obviously, but a lot of the episodes don't have a ton to do. Like, especially like episodes 6 to 10 don't have a lot to do with the rest of the show.
They don't have a lot to do with themselves most of the time.
Normally it's easier for TV shows because like BoJack Horseman is one continuous story. This is, but it doesn't. It's also not.
It doesn't act like it.
Not in like a House MD kind of way where there's through lines of like the character's development, but each story is a contained mystery.
It acts like a monster of the week, but
there's no monster.
There's no monster, and it's like monsters will randomly be like 3 episodes long, or just like 1 episode long, or just
the whole
it's just kind of a mess.
Like separate other spaceship episode that felt like an episode of Doctor Who.
I was
like,
that was like filler. That was pure filler.
Yeah. It's like, just do 9 episodes. I'm not going to be offended by watching 9 episodes instead of 10. Do 9
It's like
episodes.
the worst episode as well. It's just bad.
So weird. Like and also like it comes at a point in the story where the cool and fun thing about that story is that these people are trapped in this tin can in space together.
And then they just fuck off.
And it's creating this crazy tension. And then they go, oh no, this other ship with people we've never met before.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait. So I thought that we were over here.
Yeah, were we not doing the other thing with the?
I thought we were doing Alien, but there's no Alien.
And the super empath and the. Are you not just gonna? Oh, cannibal.
So to that end, it's currently sitting at a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my! What?
God.
That episode or the show?
No, the whole show.
Oh my God!
I think 30.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Too harsh. 33%.
People hate this show.
Too harsh.
Really?
Well, okay.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Here's what happened. Critics hate this show.
Sure.
But a lot of what people are talking about completely miss the point of what the show is going for.
That's what I've gathered as well.
Where they're like, well, the aliens don't make any sense, and what are the aliens? There's no payoff to that, and why nothing
Which
happens.
really is standard.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing, like, it's Bird Box.
It's Bird Box.
Or Annihilation.
Or Annihilation. Or just basically anything sci-fi that's
Anything
trying to
that
get to the
has-
heart of a philosophical concept.
Through the lens of
aliens.
And
Well,
people mystery.
There are a lot of ways.
Look like?
There are a lot of ways to do aliens like well as beings or as characters. Although I feel like just a big spooky spaceship with tentacles. Thanks.
Well,
thanks for the payoff.
Yeah.
I've watched 9 hours of this shit. Great payoff, guys. Thanks very much. It's not like Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a moment in the horror film where they show you the bizarre, creepy thing that's been following them fully lit instead of what they do in Alien, like the original film where it's always not lit properly, so it's always scary.
Yeah.
It's like when they show you the shitty CGI werewolf, and you're like, oh, that's not scary at all. It looks dumb.
Yeah.
Like, the cool thing about the Vulcan is that you never know what, like, even conceptually what they are. until that last episode, and you go, oh, it's a big space brain thing.
Well, in fairness, even in the last episode, it's still very vague, but it's not the kind of vagueness where it feels like, are they this like hyper evolved, one mind entity that's communicating? It doesn't feel vague in that way. It doesn't feel mysterious. It just feels
double down and use his dead daughter. And like because they already had a cool mechanism by which he was communicating with them
I thought that was
indirectly. Why not just double down on that and make it be like, and then like he meets his daughter, but now she's an adult or some shit crazy like that. We're like, whoa, like there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Instead of what they did, which was the bad CGI.
I feel like it was all the headfuck bits were like the best bits where you didn't know what was real and what was not. I feel if they kind of went with that.
Yeah, well, I thought, for me, like the sort of like the peak of the whole series was when the probe came back and it was full of meat.
Dude,
like
that's
that,
a wild twist.
because that's such a like that's a from like sort of the perspective of this sort of unknown entity that the Volcran are. It's sort of like, here's an object that you as a human can understand, a probe full of meat. Like, sure, it's weird, but like, you know what that is.
But it's filled with you.
Yeah, but it's so weird conceptually, and you're like, and it sort of, despite not being like a threat, it still adds to the tension because you're just like, what the fuck? And it gets your brain going.
Yes.
But when you just, when they just deliver a big sort of massive growth thing that he flies into and it's all weird and wacky and trippy, it's just like, you kind of like lose.
Lacks the intrigue.
Yeah. Like it's like showing Cthulhu.
When they did that in 1964, it worked quite well because people hadn't seen that kind of thing before. But literal decades later, that it doesn't even feel like an homage. It's
because it's not okay. One of the biggest problems that George R. R. Martin has as a writer is that he's kind of got the M. Night Shyamalan problem where he kind of like, oh, what's up, Colby? We got Colby House in the chat. He kind of, his twists never quite land anymore because they don't. So, okay, Martin is really good at character work. I'm going to say some nice things and some bad things. George R. R. Martin is a brilliant character work writer. He's crafted some of the most complex and interesting characters in not just modern literature, but potentially in the history of Western canon. Nightflyers and Game of Thrones both utilize this same trick that Martin that kind of uses a lot in his writing, where characters you see interacting have secret histories together that you don't know about, that's revealed as the story goes on. And it creates like a lot of interesting depth and tension within these characters, right? So you go like, oh, I didn't know that Agatha and Carl were like lovers or like were in a relationship for a long time.
Yeah.
That's a fun twist that kind of cranks up the tension. And you don't know that Teo and Agatha have this weird kind of relationship where Teo's kind of always kidding about like fancying her, but there's really something going on with him from his perspective kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it creates this, and especially, even like with Captain Aris, there's a lot. The problem is you can take it too far, where it's twist after twist after twist. So it's like, he's a hologram. Why is he a hologram? We don't know. Oh,
nope, he's not a hologram.
He's actually on the ship. But actually, he's a robot.
Oh,
no, he's a robot. Nope, he's not a robot anymore.
No, he's not a robot. He's a man in a tank now. Like that starts to fatigues you,
where grate on you,
and you go, oh, could we stop? And then you go, oh, the telepaths are getting stronger. They can't touch each other. That's a fun twist. These people that need to support each other can't interact. Now they can project out of their bodies.
Astral project, yeah.
Like that. It's just twist after twist after twist with no consideration of how tiring it gets to try and keep up and give a shit when suddenly it's like, when what's his face goes crazy. Who's the Australian bloke? Rowan. When Rowan kind of goes nuts at that cool point where they trick you into, it's like a false ending.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, the show's gonna wrap up, whatever. And then they kind of bring him back to normal. Him going crazy makes no fucking sense in the narrative structure.
No, it doesn't.
Nor with his character. But it creates this moment where the twist is that Carl still trusts him. And it just wears you down because you're like, is Carl supposed to be so manic that he doesn't give a shit that this dude literally killed a woman with an axe and tried to kill Agatha, and Agatha killed herself because of him pressuring her and the stuff that's going on? Like that's not a fun twist or a twist that cranks up the tension. It just takes away all the oxygen from the room and the storytelling.
I think the problem with that sort of moment of him sort of becoming not himself anymore, becoming quite insane, is that it happened over the course of like 10 minutes. You don't go from a perfectly sane being to a complete raging murderer in 10 minutes. Now I understand these are stories.
I literally have that written down on my notes. Like
he buries his wife and he sees a bee and he goes, "Time to kill some bees.
Time to kill everyone."
It happens in 12 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's that time skip, and there's 12 and a half minutes between when that happens, when his wife dies to when he's got the axe, he's going a crazy boy, because there's an episode cut.
When it comes to succumbing to mental illness on the level that his character succumbed, it's like months, years, even.
Yeah. You could almost say
it's slow
8
signs.
months.
It's little signs. You could say that. You could definitely say that.
Hey, Adam, what if at Crazy Pitch, if you have a time skip in your show where one character needs to get progressively crazier, what if you open after that time skip with people talking about how much he's changed and how much they're worried about him?
That's really
creative. I don't know, writing your show properly, for fuck's sake.
Well, they needed the time skip so that she could pop
be
the
pregnant.
baby out.
Don't make her pregnant. Why is it a baby dying is the only fucking device Martin can come up with for someone to go crazy? Like, oh, my wife and my kid died, now I gotta murder. Like, what if you just get space crazy?
Like,
what if being in space for that long?
Well, that's the explanation for it. The explanation is that it is space crazy, because when what's her name dies, he's suddenly not crazy anymore. And he implies that it's the tick energy that makes him crazy.
Well, it's a tick loop.
Yes.
Right? But here's the thing. That's a fine thing to work with, but introduce that, I don't know, in episode 1. So that the whole show is building up to Roland going crazy.
You don't just, like, flip. It's like there's little things. It's little signs here. It's little changes with the way someone acts in certain situations. And that's the kind of thing that if they had the intelligence, they would have just started sticking those things in around episode like 2 or 3.
We know they do, because they do it with fucking Carl.
The doctor could just say, "Hey, wow, maybe all this teak energy is causing some kind of problem with the people. And if it is causing a problem, why does it only cause a problem with Carl and the Aussie dude? Why is it not fucking with everyone?"
Should we talk about the things we liked, or is there no things that we like? Because there were some things I liked in this show.
It's filmed very well.
It's really well shot.
Yes, it is.
It looks great.
Hang on, I can do other good things. Wait. Again,
Ben and I ran out fast.
Carl's character work is done really well. They do the thing that they don't do with Rome with Carl, where across the length of the show you see him unravel. Yeah. Really slowly and really subtly. It's 10 episodes, but every time you see him, he's progressed a tiny bit more toward the manic kind of area he ends up with at the end of the show. The utilization of his dead... This is going to sound really insensitive. The utilization of his dead daughter as a device to communicate with the Vulcan, because it's literally like a
dead
mechanic,
daughters.
Works really well, and not just because he's a sad dad. Shut up, Adam.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that yet!
Oh no.
Oh shit. The main character's a sad dad. TM. But it works really well because it conveys a lot about the way that this journey's changing him. I think I broke Adam. What did you like about it?
What probably the biggest thing I liked about this was how they used sort of the ideas of sort of like these multiple realities. And again, this is broken by that one episode with the crazy cannibal masturbators, where I
forgot they jacked them off with a machine.
With a jackie offing machine.
That's so George R. R. Martin. Yeah.
It's the idea that you've sort of got all these different realities that characters kind of phase in and out of, and constantly are like, some people get lost in certain worlds and others. So you've got, you've for one, the ship, inherently the ship being sort of a closed off, except for that one episode, kind of space that they can't get out of. Mm-hmm.
It's a story in a can.
Yeah. You've got the computer system, the crystal, I guess.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it's something. You've got the memory machine, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way. There's no scene in this film that is outside or is like on Earth that isn't a memory. There's no it's always shown as being like a memory of someone. And then there's also sort of the L1, what's his name?
Teo.
What?
Teo.
I thought it was like Tane.
Well, it's spelled Thale.
Thane.
But they say Tay. I don't know what they say. Tay. How do they say it, Adam?
Thane.
I don't know. I don't
Anyway,
know.
and you've got like
dude.
and Thane's ability to put other people in sort of virtual worlds or brain worlds when he's got the people playing Russian roulette.
Yeah.
I think the way they sort of bounce all these different realities off of each other is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do anything with it.
Well, one of my biggest
but
notes
I
on the whole
find it interesting.
I don't like the fact that little fucked up in the head British dude became just completely fine. Like he went from hating everyone to 8 months. Wow, look at that! I love everyone.
Adam, it's a year.
Yeah, I think
That's the part that makes the most sense.
Yeah,
to
I
me.
think that needed to happen
Because-
in the film too.
Yeah, but I
I was
don't want
getting kind
that
of
to
tired of
happen.
everyone hating him.
I fucking love the idea of like him fucking with people the whole time. That was awesome. You wouldn't know what's actually happening.
But
Also, that was part of like the first 5 episodes when you didn't know that Cynthia was the reason people were hallucinating. Like that was just that part of the tension. As soon as you knew it was this dude's mum, that whole tension was gone. So there was no point in having him be this villainous character that no one really trusted because like, oh, tension's gone. It's not actually him.
it didn't provide any. Yeah, there was no.
Again, there's like this is like 2 stories. Just kind of like really the whole thing with Cynthia and Tane should have been the first season.
Yep.
And then the second half from like basically everything after the cannibal masturbators.
to the time skip.
Cannibal
the
masturbators on a
time skip.
spaceship.
It's almost like one of the cool things about using time skips in stories is it has to be for a fucking reason.
Yeah,
And if
feel
you
like-
do a time skip, that's literally a new story at that point. No, you're totally right. I mean, I had a kind of note on the same thing, which is that
I am totally right.
Ben looked really proud of himself just then, for those of you listening on the audio. So, on the note of all of that stuff, this is the opposite of the Walking Dead problem, and I'm going to use this to illustrate a point that I feel about a lot of these Netflix
the Walking
shows.
Dead problem is in like the singular.
The TV show. Well,
I
mean,
I was going
The
for a different
titular
angle, but
Walking Dead problem.
yeah.
now is not the time for that, Adam, but I will fight you. One of the biggest problems The Walking Dead has is that structurally it has a lot of similarities to Nightflyers and a lot of Martin's work where nothing ever happens for a while, but it always feels like a lot is happening. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of movement, but there's never any narrative change, generally speaking. So even though this even though this TV show is an adaptation, like, Martin's biggest problem lingers, which is that he's got really great character work, and like really cool philosophical ideas, but never has anything for the characters to do or discuss about it. Like, there's these, like, the meat probe and like all that stuff is like really cool and interesting, and like same with the bees and like Teo being able to, like, you know, do this telepathy with the rat and stuff, like, or the bunny or whatever, like, and you know, whether or not is it the mother or anything.
The tapeworm thing never came
But it never
to anything.
goes anywhere.
Yeah,
What
that was like a
tapeworm thing?
really
When
cool.
was that?
At one
Whereas
point,
the tape where
he
he's
has
like trying to read the
rabbit,
mind of the rabbit,
but it turns
and
into a
it's
tapeworm.
and it's like this. All he hears is just like
yeah.
hunger and like eating. And he's like, "Oh, it's the tapeworm inside." Like that was a cool. I was like, "That's sick."
That was
and
pretty
they
cool.
did nothing with it.
It's a problem of, this is kind of Stephen Moffat's issue as far as writing. We've talked about this so many times. I don't want to rehash old conversations, but it's a misunderstanding of structure from the writer's perspective, or at least the people that are making decisions about what the episodes look like, which I imagine is not just Martin, it's the whole team. There's also like marketing and stuff involved where they say you need to hit at least this many episodes and set up a second season, all that stuff. I understand it's not, at that point you do lose some creative control, but it's a misinterpretation of what a story is supposed to do when it comes to a medium and when it comes to setup and payoff. The point of a story is the setup is paid off within the same story, but there's enough non-resolved conflict and issues to create an interesting next narrative if that's where you want to go. But your primary job as a storyteller is to tell a good story, right? The problem now is with Netflix and stuff like that, the goal is to get renewed.
Yeah,
It's kind of like how politicians, their job is to do
stay in
policy,
power.
but now their job is to get reelected.
Yeah.
It's that same cycle where it's like if all you're thinking about is the next thing, you're not focusing on what you're doing. And I think there are so many cool ideas in the show that if they'd ended this, you know, when the time skip happens, if they ended the episode, there was no time skip, it just ended. That was season 1.
Yeah, and then season 2 starts with the time.
You'd
skip.
go, oh, that was really
You're like,
interesting,
what
the
the
way
hell?
that
Yeah.
show, you go like, oh, it was cool it wasn't resolved, but we learned that it wasn't Teo. Like we learned enough about the story to know that okay, the main conflict, which is this psychic person fucking with the ship? The answer is sometimes, but it's not just him.
But then, like, then Cynthia would just become a Moriarty. That's where I feel the problem is the fact that
It already is that.
But the fact that she is that, and she is the fact that she sort of comes back and provides a minimal amount of conflict at the end of the show.
She provides enough conflict for us to learn that what's his face is a tube man,
which is a very
Captain Eris.
Yeah, but like that's such a minor thing that didn't like we learn she's actually not required for him to become a tube man. We find out he's a tube man because Rowan goes crazy and axes him, and then he says, "Hey, go in the door." Cynthia's just exists, and just the only part she plays in the end is so that we can see what's her character's name, the cyber Jackie in person.
Lomi.
She exists to take over Lomi so that Lomi is relevant for Lomi, as in the actor who plays Lomi.
I don't know.
Is relevant for the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, they shelved her halfway through.
Yeah. Like, her coming back does nothing for the story, where it just feels like a Moriarty thing in Sherlock, where Moriarty is just there because he's the villain.
Well, even closer analogy, because it's what The Matrix Reloaded is based off, is in the second Matrix film, they solved the first film's problems, and then they had, shit, we need to do a sequel. What if Agent Smith took over someone from the Matrix and went to the ship in person? It's the same thing. Like, they went, shit, we've run out of ideas for how to generate more conflict.
Bring back the villain, different body.
Let's bring back the villain, but put them in the real world this time, even though the thing that made them interesting. What?
I haven't.
The other two Matrix films?
What other two Matrix films? What are you talking about? They don't exist.
Right, okay, so they're not very good. Okay.
No, they're fucking atrocious.
You're right, okay. So I'm not going to sully...
Hang on.
Serviceable. The third one is hot trash.
They are pure... they're pure philosophy. And as philosophy pieces,
pure shit.
They're brilliant.
Okay, so they're trash. What you're saying is they're trash.
The third one is philosophy.
Listen!
It's not philosophy, it's just masturbatory garbage.
No. Okay, no.
It's just wank fuel.
Masturbatory garbage?
This is an argument for another time.
Cannibalistic masturbatory
You're wrong
garbage.
And it's fine, but
I'm wrong.
We can talk about it later.
That's like that's a really good band name. Cannibalistic masturbatory garbage.
The same thing about the fucking two mate. They're terrible films.
Yes,
because the
end of story.
I don't want to do this now. We can come back to it. Look, what I was going to say was that kind of inclusion of those kinds of twists and the way that they try and force Lomi back into the story is just more of that evidence of it seems like they wrote 7 episodes and the studio went, it's gotta be around 10. And they went, I guess
we can just do the rest of the story.
I guess we'll just do a bit more.
Yeah.
Like, not
just
even
a little bit more.
If this was 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Like, cool.
Half.
But it's half, but it's not. It's 10.
It's 10.
It's a bit like how Infinity War feels like half of a thing. It just doesn't quite get, it's just like 3/4.
Yeah, it's 3/4. Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because I've been, watching a lot more TV recently, but cannibalism is a really overused trope.
It's an easy villain.
It's easy because it's spooky.
But it's not. It's people eating people. People do that in real life. That's not scary.
Yeah, but it's
like they're not even eating real people. It's not like they're keeping their population of man hostage. They're literally just breeding dumb, lifeless meat bags for food. And okay, I guess given the circumstances, that is a fairly efficient and logical approach.
On the docket, I would like to have sex with some of you and then eat the babies. I thought you'd like that. I do keep rolling out the hits, don't I?
Good job.
Let's all
women.
agree that episode is hot garbage.
Hot garbage.
Just not.
100%
not
hot
try.
garbage.
Let's not think about it. That one struck from the record.
Yeah.
I guess the only other sort of information I had to think about, because we kind of talked through all of my points really, is that the time skip, we've identified why it's a problem, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that I think it does some interesting stuff that I didn't hate. So some of the concepts it introduces, for instance, Carl and Agatha being at a much more mature point in their relationship, is interesting in a different story. In this one, it doesn't quite work. Even having Rowan get into a serious relationship is interesting in a different story. Captain Eris kind of being not who he says he is a twist they've already used, so I don't care about it by the time that we find out he's a tube man. Basically, all I'm saying is that George R. R. Martin had about 4 really good ideas for a story and reused them about 3 times each. Yeah. It's kind of that Stephen Moffat syndrome where you hang on to the stuff that works and no one tells you no, so you keep doing it. And yeah, I don't want to like dig Martin too much because we have no idea. It's Netflix, so they don't talk about anything. But we're not sure how much involvement he would have had in deciding the story and the structure and the number of episodes. He has passing to do with Game of Thrones. He just kind of tells them what he was going to do and then leaves it alone. So I guess my kind of wrapping up thoughts to kind of tie everything we've said together would be sometimes a story can be constructed in a way that doesn't necessarily facilitate that story itself. So like, as we said, the first 7 episodes are a great tight package, but the way that this is delivered and the medium by which it's delivered don't necessarily benefit what they're trying to do. And I think that's a big lesson that a lot of people struggle to kind of comprehend. So they go, well, the show is bad. Like, because like everyone is like, well, they bombed the show. Like, it's 33% bad. People think this is terrible. But the show itself is actually okay. The problem is the way that it's been delivered and the structures around which it was decided how this story should be told. And that is a part of what makes it not a good story. Like, if you wrote a book and it was 200 pages too long, it'd be a bad book. Yeah. But you can't discount how good the parts of the story are before that. And I'm always wary of when we do episodes like this and we talk about something that we didn't necessarily love, it can sometimes sound like we're discounting the good bits. But I think this story does a lot of stuff really well. And I found it to be, at times, thrilling and entertaining. Sometimes a bit too gruesome for the sake of being confronting. One or two times.
I don't think it was too bad. There were a few points where I was just like, that's unnecessary.
It was how unnecessary.
It was not like Prometheus levels of like unnecessary.
There was no C-section.
There was no unnecessary C-section.
Well, I think you left the theater for that section in Prometheus. Yeah. But yeah, I wish they'd stopped at episode 7.
Or gone through
to the end of that arc. And it's just unfortunate it's not getting renewed because I think whatever they were going to do could have been cool. Yeah. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
No.
I think that like the first half was pretty good. I don't think that it was a Marmite program like the title of the thing suggests. It wasn't a masterpiece, but it wasn't a massive miss. Yeah, a Marmite
that's a term
program.
We don't have.
You either love it or you hate it.
Oh. Right, yeah.
Right? So
yep.
Yeah.
It did a lot good. It just wasn't like as a whole product it isn't good, but there's little bits of it that are fucking great. Like those first couple episodes, I honestly think they're golden.
Oh, they're so good.
I really love them.
Incredible.
I really like them.
It's just everything after that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what you could do? If you were going to sit somebody down and make them watch like the first 4 episodes and then just say, that's it. That's the story. They would have the most positive opinion of Nightflyers that anyone could have.
But they would also want to keep watching. It's a bit of a trap.
Yeah, but you could it's a spooky mystery horror thing. You could just say it ended there, and they'd be like, "What?" You'd be like, "Yeah, it ended there, dude."
Yeah, I know what you mean. Totally agree. It's one of those things that I just wish it was better. Like, because I really like it. Yeah. And I want to like it, but I sound like a fucking moron telling people I like it. It's got a 33% on Metacritic. Yeah. So that's tough, but that's why we do the show, so that I can that we don't sound like crazy people. Yeah. Do you have any recommendations for this week?
No.
We do this every single week, and you guys always act surprised.
No, nothing. This week.
Adam?
I got an Oculus last week, which is pretty fucking cool. So
yeah, we're gonna be playing some VR games.
I've beaten Superhot. I've beaten the like the main game in Superhot. I'm loving Beat Saber. Still can't play an expert difficulty, but I will get there. It's me. It's a rhythm game. It's gonna happen at some point.
Yeah. Are you feeling okay? Because I feel like that would be your entire life, right?
I tried out Pavlov, and because of the what did you call it? The smooth locomotion of like moving forward and not like jumping.
Yeah.
I had a motion headache for like 3 days. It was
cool.
It was fucking horrible.
You might be one of those people that really has to sort of really ease into
Yeah.
smooth locomotion.
Yeah.
I was gonna like jokingly recommend you some games that even make me kind of nauseous, but
No,
like
don't, no.
it might
I
actually
can't
kill you.
touch them. 'Cause it's like
So yeah, don't worry about it.
super hot is really, really good because you're standing still. And you just grab, like, you can move around a little bit, you can dodge stuff, and you can duck and weave, but it's like, for the most part, you're just picking stuff up, doing stuff with the stuff you pick up, and not moving. It's the same with Beat Saber, it's the same with Robo Recall, which for a free game bundled in, it's surprisingly fun.
What else? I've been playing Metro Exodus. I just put out a video on that if you want to check that out. It's really short. It's like 3.5 minutes. It's a good little fun little bite-sized one. I like doing those little kind of choice, kind of one concept, one really short video things. And if you're a Patreon, you know that I'm working on a super exciting project that's coming out soon with some of my favorite boys. I won't say more than that right now, but it's coming out very soon, and yeah, you do. And it's coming out really soon. It's gonna be my entire life for the next kind of 2 months. So that's really exciting, and the first part of that will be out probably next week. It's a very exciting opportunity, so I'm very excited about that. Which now it sounds like I'm talking about, but just what I'm saying is watch this space.
Facebook.
I'm also working
YouTube.
on content, but
Shut up, Adley.
Adam, come on, we're doing the plugs.
YouTube.
Actually, we should do Adam's plugs first. Adam, where can people find you?
Fuck.
It's that Adley everywhere.
Everywhere. It's not that hard. You say one sentence.
YouTube.com/thatadley. @thatadley on
Yeah.
Twitter. That's
yeah.
it. That's all I use. That's all I use.
Face YouTube.
Face
YouTube.com.
We're gonna get through this.
Fuck. YouTube.com.
Twitter.
YouTube.com/DCMworks.
Twitter.
@DCM_works.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/DCMworks. If you want to subscribe, our tiers start at $3 a month. You get access to everything we've done. That includes early access to video essays, video projects. You get the extra 20 minutes of our post show for Art for Artists, which varies in quality dramatically, but it's definitely exclusive.
It really does.
I do things like, making of, where I go through video essays and I talk about how I wrote them or put them together. You can get access to over 60 plus episodes of our behind the scenes podcast, including our spooky interface series, which we'll be talking about in our post show. Aside from that, it really helps support the show, and we view it more as like a subscription rather than like a donation. So if you're interested in that stuff, check it out. Big thanks to Yoop, Kumans, and Cameron, who are our top Patreon supporters this month. We do appreciate the heck out of you guys. Helps us keep doing what we're doing and all that good stuff. Otherwise, if you want to follow us individually, I'm at DCMIHayPie.
I'm at Little Citrus.
@thatadley.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Love you all.
Use
Auf
belch.
Wiedersehen.